Hi, today I'm going to be talking to Caron Egle from Sage Thinking on the Small Interview Project.
Okay, today I'm with Caron Egle from Sage Thinking, and she's going to go through the Small Interview Project. So how are you today, Caron?
I'm fine, thanks Tony. How are you?
I'm great, thank you very much. Alright, let's get into it. Sage Thinking, what is it that you do?
Sage Thinking, what we do is we provide leadership education and consulting in the leadership space and human potential space so that organisations and individuals can actually optimise their potential and maximise their outcomes for results in real world situations.
Okay, and so focusing on both individuals and organisations?
Yeah, so organisations consist of people obviously,
yep.
and they have, divisions or business area units and teams, and so we work with those kind of people both strategically and operationally,
okay.
And then also provide executive coaching. So that's the one-on-one individual stuff
sure.
that we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. So tell me, why did you go into business in the first place?
I think originally I had a lofty dream and I had the idea of creating myself some autonomy in business.
Right.
And so that was probably my primary driver, to give me the flexibility.
Yep.
So I kind of created myself a job,
right.
so to speak, initially.
Yep.
And so where I'm at now is actually moving into very much creating a business that is not just a job, but it's a business that I can actually start to take myself out of.
Okay.
So it's gone through a developmental phase,
so
I guess.
It's transitioned, has it?
Yeah, or in the process of transitioning, yeah.
Okay. And how are you doing that? Like, what's the process you're going through?
Well, I've been in business now for 10 years,
right.
And I've been able to leverage the work that I do to be able to then scale it up and use online leverage to be able to run training courses and do executive coaching more broadly. And so it's now licensing my materials so that other people can then use it and kind of training the trainers, I guess.
Okay, so making it more scalable.
More scalable,
yeah.
So we're scaling it in a different way and really niching the market in the leadership domain.
Okay, great. If you had your time over again, starting again, would you change anything?
There's probably lots of things I'd changed. I think I'd have a greater vision initially,
right.
about what a business can do, and I would get more assistance earlier rather than doing it all myself. I think having a business coach earlier would have, I
yep.
think that's a really clever thing to do,
right.
because I think I kind of muddled through 10 years ago,
yep.
and learned by necessity rather than strategically, and I think being much more strategic in how I approached it,
yep.
As a business rather than a job,
yeah.
Would be the things I'd do differently.
Okay, I think it's a common challenge.
I think it's a very common challenge.
Absolutely. So, on speaking of challenges, what has been your biggest challenge?
My biggest challenge is there's probably been a couple of big challenges. One is maintaining the balance between working in the business and on the business.
Yep.
I think that's probably my biggest challenge.
Yep.
And when you become very good at working in the business, which is why I got into the business in the first place, and taking the time to do the strategy around it to keep the ongoing work happening.
Right.
I think that's probably my biggest challenge, and getting that balance right. So, which is what then gives me the cash flow.
Yes,
so that kind of balance is probably my biggest challenge.
All right. You just touched on this next question. So how do you balance working on versus in?
What I do now is I actually allocate time in my week to work on.
Okay.
So and I have a mentor.
Yep.
And my accountant. I've done two things. I have a mentor, plus I've also set up a mastermind group
right.
of business owners.
Yes, yes.
And so we have regular weekly and fortnightly meetings around that. And so with both my mentor and the mastermind, that keeps me accountable for working on the business.
Right.
And
is that a recent development, or
that I set up the mastermind group 2 years ago.
Okay.
And that's had a couple of morphs of it.
Yep.
As people come and go, and our needs change. Probably the best direct thing is actually having the mentor.
Right. Okay.
Which is accountable. it's strategy, it's implementing it, and working with that to actually keep that ongoing vision happening.
Sure.
With accountability metrics.
Okay,
yeah.
no, that's great. And has that sort of been what's caused a major change in your business in the last couple of years, sort of getting that more focused approach, or?
I think there have been a number of catalysts that have created the need for that.
Right.
One is I moved very much into public programs.
Right.
And with public programs, it's often discretionary spending.
Yep.
And so that discretionary spending with the GFC kind of reduced.
Yep.
Didn't dry up, but it reduced. And so I've gone much more back to working at the organisational level and building relationships at the organisational level with decision makers, so that it doesn't become, yes, certainly public programs are part of what I offer, but it's much more targeted to working in partnership with organisations now. Right. To create their future with them. Okay,
all right, excellent. And my final question is advice for someone who's thinking about going into business. What would you say to them?
Stay passionate and get a business coach. Because it just takes, it's accountability stuff. You're so busy doing so many things and being all things to all people, particularly initially, that I think staying focused with that strategy and not feeling like you're doing it all by yourself, I think is really important.
Yeah, okay, some great advice. Okay, Caron, look, thanks very much for your time today.
Take care. Thanks, Tony.